Anyway, all right. So today I want to talk to you guys about really the four different types of cardio. So, a lot of people think of cardio is just cardio, right? It's going to sweat, it's going to run, it's going to ride a bike. Cardio is cardio, right? And they really couldn't be any further from the truth when it comes to, there are actually several different kinds of cardio. Now, I'm going to say the ones that I deal with the most, that there's about four different kinds. Now, granted, if you ask Google, there's probably seven, eight, nine, there could be 20 different kinds of cardio. I don't know. But the main four that I deal with is what we'll talk about today. So, and each one kind of caters to a different fitness goal, I guess you could say, or they each have, different purposes as it relates to what our end goal is. Um, so, we'll start out with the easiest one or the least impactful, and that's going to be LISS, LISS, the low intensity steady state. So examples of this is just like what you guys do on a day-to-day basis. Walking, some light jogging, casual swimming, riding a bike at like a very slow pace, nothing that is really going to elevate your heart rate. I would say probably over 100 beats per minute. Anything more than that, you're gonna anything more than that is going to be glycolytic, which is going to cause your body to use more stored glycogen than it normally would, and that could make you hungrier on the back end. That's why that I tell, I have a lot of people say, well, hey, instead of hitting, 10,000 steps a day, can I do this kind of cardio? Can I go run? That kind of thing. I'm like, yeah, sure, you can, but it's going to be more glycolytic for you, which on the back end could make you hungrier, make you have more cravings, things like that. So essentially, LISS involves maintaining a steady, moderate pace for an extended, period of time. Typically 20, 30, 40, even up to an hour, right? 20 minutes up to about an hour, somewhere in there. Um, it's gonna, again, it's not as glycolytic as the more intense version. So, it's gonna burn fat as its primary fuel source. It's obviously less taxing on the body. I mean, walking is one of the most healthiest things that you can just do in general, right? And it's something that anybody can do. You know, a lot of people, beginners specifically, they might not can go into a gym and start hit, cardio right away or do any kind of, functional cardio to where they just don't know what to do. And this is the easiest thing really to do as far as it comes to, cardio wise. Now, again, this is really for anybody's. So it could be beginners all the way up to advanced individuals, anybody, recovering from an injury, and really anyone looking for a low impact form of cardio. That's the good thing about that. Um, and so let's go ahead and move into the second one, which is HIIT training, high intensity interval training. And you guys all know, what this is. It's just short, all out bursts of effort. These sessions are typically going to last anywhere from 10, maybe upwards of 20 or 30 minutes. Run on the treadmill at 8 miles an hour for 1 minute, hop off, walk for 1 minute at 2 miles an hour, and then hop back on and run, hop back off and walk, the high intensity interval training. That's what that is, right? Some examples is, outside of that, is like sprinting intervals, circuit training, body weight exercises, things like burpees, then moving into jumping jacks, then moving into, kettlebell swings, something that is very in short burst interval training, just really just to get your heart rate up and keep it elevated the entire time. Because the list, again, you probably shouldn't get over 100 beats per minute there, but high intensity interval training, you're going to be upwards of that 150, 160, 170, but that whole time you're not putting out the output to where the requirement of your body to keep it at that 160 is going to be there. So, if you're running all out for a minute, your heart rate might be at 160, 170. And when you take that minute break and walk at 2 miles an hour for a minute, your heart rate is just not immediately going to drop back down. It'll start to go down a little bit, but then after a minute, you're right back on it. It's going to go right back up. So, obviously the benefits of using HIIT training is you burn more calories in less time. Obviously the harder that you work at cardio, the more it's gonna burn in theory. Um, and you know, cardio is a lot of people kind of forget the fact that cardio is related to cardiovascular health, right? They just think cardio is just sweating, riding a bike and running, getting on the treadmill. The purpose of cardio is to improve your cardiovascular health. That just is what it is. And when you do, especially HIIT style training, it's going to improve that cardiovascular system pretty significantly. I mean, I could tell when I first started my cardio for my contest prep, I was at 150 calories a day every day of the week. I had to do cardio, and that 150 was tough. I mean, I was gassed after that. And then toward the end of prep, I was cruising at 500 calories a day. At that HIIT interval cardio. I mean, and it was just my cardiovascular health had improved so much that it got easy. This is what it is. But again, I was improving my cardiovascular health. And again, that's why I think keeping some sort of cardio in your regimen, even if you are bulking, is very important because again, we're adding on muscle, we're adding on size. You're asking more from your heart, so we need to support the heart and make sure that its cardiovascular health is up to par to keep us moving in the right direction. Um, and obviously who this is for is it's obviously for people who you really have to enjoy cardio to do this style. If you're just doing this on your own, or if you're in a time crunch and you just need to burn X amount of calories in the shortest amount of time, just ask Ren. He'll get on the bike and crank out several hundred calories in a very short time. You can knock it out, relatively fast. But also keep in mind it's more glycolytic than just walking. So that's always should be something that's kept in the back of your head. And then we'll move to a lot of people don't know this one. It's MICT, so it's moderate intensity continuous training. MICT. Um, this falls between walking and like interval sprints. This is like jogging or cycling at more of like a moderate pace. Again, this is going to be more glycolytic than just walking. But this can help you get your steps in during the day. Um, this is really for individuals who want something more challenging than just going for a walk in the afternoon, but they also don't want to go to the gym and do these crazy interval sprints for 20 or 30 minutes and really gas themselves, right? This is the medium, right? And again, it's not really a lot of people don't do this style, or they don't do it for the intention of cardio, or they really don't even know it's got a specific name. They just do it because it's cardio. It's just not very well known. And again, it's going to improve your overall cardiovascular health. You should probably get your heart rate upwards of 100, maybe 120, 130 in this. Nothing too crazy, but it's definitely elevated. Definitely, get you a good sweat going, things like that too. And then the last one is just steady state cardio. Now, this kind of sounds like the MICT training, but it's a little different. What this is basically is it's maintaining a consistent intensity level, usually between low and moderate intensity for a set period. So this is kind of like HIIT training. It's done in intervals, but it's for less. It's done for, I'm not going to say a shorter amount of time, but the intensity of the cardio itself is a little bit lesser than what you would do in HIIT, if that makes sense. This could be running, swimming, cycling, and you should be able to maintain whatever pace that you're setting, within 20 to 60 minutes. If you're gassing out before then it's probably more considered HIIT, or just all out sprinting, or if you can go longer than that, then it's probably more considered, list training. Your heart rate is probably not where it needs to be. Um, in that aspect. This is more or less targeted for people who like to do endurance training. So like, marathon runners, triathlon people, things like that. This is just how far can we go at this certain pace Like, how far can we go? Because if you're doing a marathon, you have to set whatever pace that you're comfortable with and just keep the pace, the entire time. Now, granted, there might be spurts at the end where you're about to lose or you're about to come in second or you might win first. And you just have to give it, that all out effort to get across the finish line. But for the majority of the time, you're at this set pace and you're going to try to continue that pace for the entire duration of the marathon, the 5K, whatever it is. Um, and you can probably argue that this has a less chance of injury as compared to hit because it's not as explosive of a movement. But you could easily, I don't know, step into a pothole, or I don't know, anything can happen, right? But the main thing here is just keeping that steady pace the entire time, which is what it boils down to. So, um, that's kind of the four main examples, that I like to use. Obviously, like I said, if you Google it, there's probably 20 different kinds of cardio out there. But for what we do in our capacity, these four are really all that I like to deal with. It just makes it easier. I mean, you start throwing out, well, hey man, if you don't like to do this, we can do this, and this, and this. And they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's just like, okay, let's keep it simple. Here's, one of four methods that, we can do. Obviously, the walking part is super easy. We can all do that. Typically I do the steps and then some form of interval training when it comes to shedding the body fat. That might be you hop on the elliptical or the stairmaster and burn 250 calories, 3 or 4 times times a week, and we're going off of our Apple Watch to do that. Or it could be if you're like Ren who enjoys doing the air bike, things like that. That's cool too. Just at the end of the day, you just have to keep in mind that each one of these different styles of cardio all has a different goal at the end of the day. We just have to keep that in mind as we're pushing toward us, whatever goal that each one of you have. So, um, I know Dave just joined us, and I'll quickly run through what we talked about, Dave, here in a second. But for you other three, that all that stuff make pretty good sense there to you guys. Nothing I'm sure that you guys probably haven't ever heard of before. I'm sure that you probably all have heard of that. Maybe you might not have heard of the MICT cardio, which is
Hmm.
not very well known, but everything else probably so. So
Yeah, I'd say it was the last two, or yeah, that moderate that I really wasn't aware of as far as it being actually classified as that. But
yeah, yeah. And again, it could just be somebody thought it was a cool name and it's a medium between this and this. Okay, let me
yeah,
let me let me coin this cardio phrase and let me put my name on it some somewhere. Who knows? Um, but essentially, Dave, what we talked about is the four different types of cardio and how each one has its own specific goals as it pertains to what our end outcome is. So we have low intensity steady state, which is LISS cardio. That's just walking, right? That's just me getting you to count the steps. Then we have the high intensity interval training. That's like hopping on the treadmill, running all out for 1 minute, and then hopping off for a minute and walking at 2 miles an hour, and then hopping back on. That's obviously hit. And then we get to the more lesser known, which is the MICT cardio, is moderate intensity continuous training. Um, this is a little higher than LISS and a little under hit. Again, it's that little happy medium. It's like jogging or cycling at a pretty moderate pace. It's just, again, I think it's just somewhere in the middle. Somebody wanted to coin a phrase, and there it is. And then the last one is that that steady state cardio. Again, that's just like it's really effective for endurance training, such as people who are running marathons. You have a set pace, a mile pace that you want to run. You stick to that pace the entire time. And that's how those marathoners and those triathlon people can go the distance and keep the pace. They just know what their mileage per whatever it is, I think what the fastest guy in the world is. I don't want to mess it up, but it's obviously Usain Bolt, I think. But it's like I don't even know his 100-meter time. It's ridiculous. Obviously, obviously that's not steady state cardio, but I'm sure he can probably sustain a mile for 5 or 6, 5 or 6 minutes, which is probably it's very impressive. But um, outside of that, I think that covers all bases of what I believe is important when it comes to cardio. So. Um, I guess, does all that make sense? You guys got any questions about how any of that stuff works? Any confusion on anything or anything that you guys just want to add in general? Everybody good?
I would just be curious to know how you, I guess, determine like if you are, have certain goals or whichever, like which of those four categories meet, go towards certain goals. Like if one is better for whenever you're trying to bulk up or versus cut or whichever, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
I think it kind of comes down to preference because obviously the first one, the list cardio, that's just steps, right? Anybody can do steps, and that should be in everybody's plan, whether you're bulking, cutting, rest day. That's just an everyday thing. Now for me personally, I hate hit training because my knees suck with the three ACLs. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. It just hurts me too bad, and I think the risk of me jumping up on a box and doing something and jumping back down. That's just not for me. And then that, moderate intensity of training. I mean, again, that's that less moderate version of hit. So again, that just kind of knocks that out for me. So I prefer that steady state cardio, which is what I have a lot of people do. That's where, they'll do the 250 calories, 350 calories burned 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7 days a week, to get to that output. So I think it really all comes down to preference. So if you enjoy the hit training, we can do it. If you enjoy the more steady state stuff, we can do it. At the end of the day, we're counting calories. Now, a lot of coaches do it different ways, right? But I like for my individuals to count calories on their cardio stuff based off of the off the wearable that they're wearing. Only because you might not can use that exact same elliptical every day. You might not can use that exact same stairmaster every day. You might be traveling, and your 20 minutes at this intensity level on this stairmaster might be 40 minutes on this other one. Just because it's different, right? But you always have your watch on. It's always a constant. So you'll track your calories burned by this. Is it an accurate count? No, but it's consistent because you wear it every day, and that's just one thing that you can count on. So if that makes sense, if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, that
Okay, cool. Everybody else good? Is anything? Well, we can just open it up for Q&A now. Anything that you guys got as it pertains to anything. I guess anything's fair game now. So
Yeah, I guess maybe it's a weird question, but like, so for forever, I have done my cardio when I do my walks. I've always done it with a ruck, like with a weighted vest on, right? And so, is there any like real benefit to continue to do that? Because like I usually do it for 2 miles and then, or really, it's like 3 miles with a 30-pound vest on. So is there any additional benefit to that, or is that something that I can forego the weighted vest and just worry about the steps? Like, what's kind of because like like that's just how it's been like
yeah.
my so like is there any benefit to it or can I stop or what are the thoughts?
Um, I think for me, if I'm out, just for the longevity purpose, yeah, I don't like to run or do anything like on hard surfaces anyway. So if I'm having an additional 30, 40 pounds on my joints, jolting them every time, that I'm walking, to me, I think you could probably ease away from it. I think it would be interesting though, is if you started tracking, that caloric burn on your watch, do it for a couple of days and see like, hey, like, is there a massive caloric, burn difference in between me carrying the ruck pack and me not carrying the ruck pack? Because if there's not a big difference, unless you just enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. Unless you're now, I do have a guy now that's planning on going on some 3 week off the grid hunt, and he's been carrying a ruck pack. But again, he's going to have to be climbing mountains, with a book bag and all kinds of stuff on for 3 weeks at a time. So yeah, in that scenario, it's probably a good idea to acclimate yourself to an extra 50 pounds on your back. But for what we do, you could just I would compare it and just see what the caloric burn is, because you probably could ease away from it, I would say. So
David, to go on that, man, so I'm very peculiar about my grass. I'm a grass guy. Shit's got to be straight and in line. So I push my grass twice a week. I wear 100-pound weighted vest, and the only reason why I do it is because my fucking neighbors think that I'm insane. But I think it's terrible for you, to be honest, because there has been times that I literally wanted to blow my brains out after that hour of that 100 pounds. But I don't know, for whatever reason, in my mind, it makes me tough, and I don't see anybody else doing it. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, that's about how it is. Like in my neighborhood, I'm like, without the weighted vest, you have a hard time missing me in the neighborhood. And then you add the weighted vest on in the neighborhood, so I'm instantly the weirdest man in the neighborhood. So but yes, like that is a part of it too. Maybe it's just the ego piece in regards to like just being a badass in the neighborhood. But yeah.
Yeah. I think Coach is right, man. I think it does more harm than good. But there's been several escapades where I needed some punishment. So in order to punish myself, that's kind of what I do.
Shoot, I started off rucking when we first started working together too, Austin, because that was during my 75 hard and live hard phase of Andy Frisella did it. So I figured I'd be a bitch if I didn't. So, but I've stopped that since that. I'm putting my body through enough.
yeah. I mean, again, if you enjoy doing it, do it. But I think from the longevity standpoint, I just don't think it's worth it. Now you probably do look like a badass. Or now, let me take that back. If you have the one where it's the vest and then it has the two pegs where the one weight peg comes out here, and then you have the one off the back. I've seen some individuals in the gym walking on the treadmill with a 45-pound plate, and it's like up to their head, and then they got another one on their back. I'm like, what is this fool doing?
Man, if you ain't running MRI, you running some bullshit.
I don't know what they're doing. It just looks uncomfortable. But everybody has their own thing, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Coach. I made it a point to tune into this because whichever one of y'all crackheads loves cardio is crazy as fuck. I hate it.
I'm not gonna say I like it either.
I don't care what kind. My steps I enjoy. Outside of that, man, and I hate it.
I wish Jamal would have got on, because he's right at 500 calories a day right now, so he could have probably weighed in on this one pretty good. But yeah, it's tough, but it is what it is to get him to his end goal. So, but yeah, outside of that, anybody else got anything at all? It was actually a pretty good session, I thought, of the day. So. Well, hey, Ren, what kind of jersey you got in the background there? Was that Lawrence?
Yeah, my wife got that for me for my birthday last year. She found it at TJ Maxx of all places. It's a signed Trevor jersey. Then I got my diplomas and all the other shit in this room. This is my office / Clemson den.
I just need a Dave Dunham picture of him laying out Matt Ryan right here. So maybe I can make that happen. So.
Dave, what's the skyline behind you?
No, that's just it is just the Zoom background. So like, I'm never on.
You're about this big on mine, so it looks like you're standing downtown.
No, so like, yeah, I'm never on Zoom because like my company, we run off of Google Meet, and so So like that, it's just a random background because I'm doing this from like the other room, not from my office, and so that's all.
I
And
got
then
you.
Austin, I'm sure I know a dude who can make it happen.
Oh man. Well, cool deal. I really
I'm gonna act all cool now too, like I don't know who you are, and yeah, a little starstruck.
Oh man. But anyway, yeah, I'll let you guys go. I gotta go to a funeral here shortly, so I gotta get all dressed up and go for that. So, but anyway, yeah, I was a really good call today. We'll do another one next week. Yeah, Jacob, as long as we got a one person in the call, we'll continue it the next week.
All right.
So we're good. But yeah, hey man, I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later, and we'll go from there.
Be good,
Sounds
fellas.
good.
See y'all.
See
Y'all
ya.
be good.